With the first pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Diego Gallegos, point guard, New Mexico State University.
Well, Diego, after an impressive 30 for 30 mock draft prediction performance, you were undoubtedly the number one overall pick. How does it
Well,
feel?
first off, I got to start off with, thanking my wonderful parents for, uh, being with me on this journey. They have given me amazing support. Of course, all love to God and the blessings that He's given me to get to this point in my life. You asked me about the performance, and, it was truly incredible. And it was something that, I'd obviously prepared for my entire life. And to just go, 30 for 30 on those predictions was really something special. And I'm looking forward to taking my talent to the next level and seeing what I can do there.
And with so much talent, what are you hoping to contribute to this team?
Well, it really is a talent. It is a talent to really go out and put out performances consistently like that. But I'm just looking forward to this year, uh, seeing what I can really do at this next level and potentially going another perfect 30 for 30 on my 2025 NBA mock draft predictions. Well, that was really weird. Don't know what the heck that was. Back to regular scheduled programming. Welcome back to the Play by Play podcast, and welcome back to the final iteration of our NBA 2025 NBA mock drafts. This is the final edition of our mock drafts. I'm recording this episode the day before the draft happens tomorrow. So excited to see how this entire thing plays out. I think that there are so many honest wild cards within this draft. Where could Ace Bailey potentially end up? The two centers, Kama Malawak and Derek Queen, where do they end up? There's now, a new draft order with the Phoenix Suns now being introduced to the number 10 overall pick after they traded away Kevin Durant. So already so many things have changed, and there are so many other things that could change going into tomorrow. Really quick before we get this started, I want to thank you guys for all of your support on recent episodes. I want to please push you to going down below, subscribing, leaving a like, commenting, and sharing with your friends, as well as following us on all social medias, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those ads are also down below in the description. And I would like to mention that tomorrow night, before the beginning of the draft, we are going to be doing a full first round live stream, looking over, being live while the draft is going on. And then hopefully after that, there's going to be a bunch of content rolling out about post-draft thoughts and whatnot and what that all means. So make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure that you're following the social medias for reactions and whatnot. So much content coming in just within the next 24 to 48 hours, and it's going to be a really, really fun time. But without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get into this, the final mock draft of the year. Oh my goodness, very exciting. And we start, again, right at the top of the order. And while we've said that this draft has many wild cards, the first two picks are probably the least wild of them all. They've been pretty consistent throughout all of these drafts, and that is Cooper Flag going number 1 overall to the Dallas Mavericks and Dylan Harper going number 2 overall to the San Antonio Spurs. Flag is the obvious number 1 overall pick in this draft, a real bridge prospect for the Dallas Mavericks going between eras, and I think, especially with them re-signing Daniel Gafford, they're going to have some really great length, some really great rim protection within the front court with Anthony Davis and whatnot. And he could be really good insurance if Kyrie doesn't come back 100% from injury, and if Anthony Davis potentially gets injured throughout the regular season, which at this point is almost bound to happen with his injury history. And then Dylan Harper at number 2. Again, there's been so much talked about his potential fit in San Antonio, especially playing at the point guard position when they have De'Aaron Fox and the Rookie of the Year in Stephon Castle. But he does have decent size. He is definitely 100% the obvious number 2 within this draft. I think that there is a very, very huge gap between him and the remaining prospects available. Good two-way guard, solid shot creation on his side. He can play the 1, he can play the 2. So I think that while the fit is kind of weird, they could still work around it and potentially go out and put him in any spot that they really want to. They could play him next to Castle and put him at the 2. They could sub in Fox if they maybe like Fox better offensively and put Harper at the 1. They can move all those guys around. So I don't really think that they're going to be in really any bad way with Dylan Harper. And, of course, there's always potentially the prospect of them trading this pick, which I forgot to mention. This draft, there's not going to be any trades that I'm going through. I just want to go through it base list 1 through 30. Then you start to get where the draft can get a little bit weird. So many directions that the Philadelphia 76ers can go to in at number 3. Beginning of the draft, obviously the obvious was Ace Bailey going 3rd. Now it kind of seems like they could potentially be going in a different direction. I'm going to have them going in a different direction with the same pick that I had in the previous episode, which is VJ Edgecombe at number 3. Really solid at that shooting guard position. Two-way shooting guard, has a lot of amazing athleticism, very comparable to a Victor Oladipo type player. Could sub in and work around with both Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain. McCain, especially coming off injury, can now work towards more of being a impactful six-man off the bench. Good wing insurance for when Paul George potentially gets hurt, which is there. And just with Bailey canceling workouts, with VJ Edgecombe having an entire dinner with 76ers staff, Bailey seems to be falling down boards. I just don't think that that's the right fit at this moment, and that's what they really want. Now, the Charlotte Hornets at 4 are going to frown upon this because I truly believe that they do want VJ Edgecombe. I think that would be the absolute perfect fit next to LaMelo Ball to cover up some of those defensive weaknesses, to improve your shooting, and to also be able to move Brandon Miller to his more natural small forward position. But VJ is now off the board. So where could they look to? Potentially Ace Bailey, potentially get him on the wing to play next to Brandon Miller. There are some talks about maybe center position, especially if they are potentially looking to trade away Mark Williams. Trey Johnson is, of course, on the court, but I don't think that he is as clear of a fit as VJ is just because of his defensive weaknesses. But the one that I like the most is Con Knoepel at number 4. I've said this before. I think outside of Flagg and Harper, Con is the most day one ready starter to plug in. He has all around talent wherever you go. Great catch and shoot, three-point shooter, handled the ball nicely, could run the offense, plays solid defense, has good length, can rebound. I mean, he can just play everywhere. And again, his ceiling might not be as high as some of these other guys. I think that Ace Bailey has a much higher ceiling. I think that a VJ Edgecombe could have a higher ceiling. But with a team that is really trying to just develop their young core and begin to steadily improve, a guy that can plug in like Knoepel would be amazing for them. And playing next to LaMelo Ball, he could definitely still do that. He improves your defense. He improves your length. Really, really like this pick for Charlotte at number 4. Some people might view as a reach, but there have been plenty of mock drafts that I've seen of Knoepel potentially going number 4 overall. Then you get to the Utah Jazz at number 5. Talks of Jeremiah Fears. They're really interested. Of course, Trey Johnson is still on the board. But in my eyes, even with the amount of controversy that Ace Bailey has brought to his name, I don't really see him falling out of the top 5. If he does, I don't see him falling outside of the top 6. I think that Washington would gladly take him. But I think 5 is kind of his floor. And it's not really a bad situation for him at all because he could get to play next to Lauri Markkanen, who can stretch the field and get out of his way and allow him to attack the basket. So number 5 would still be a solid spot. Utah would still get some solid value out of him. Getting his length, being able to move Markkanen to the 4, then you have Walker Kessler at the 5, and then you allow your point guards to kind of just, distribute to your big-time shot makers. Bailey could plug in and be your number 2 scorer on that team 100%. Of course, the defense needs to improve a lot. There's a lot of weakness there, some ball handling weakness, even some three-point inconsistencies at times. But honestly, I think that outside of maybe a Philly or maybe a Washington, this is probably the best fit that he could go ahead and plug into. Then you get to the Washington Wizards at number 6, and this is actually a big-time change for me. For the past couple of drafts, I've had Jeremiah Fears going to the Brooklyn Nets at number 8. I'm going for Jeremiah Fears at number 6. There has been so many reports, especially by out of Sports Illustrated, that says that the Washington Wizards are hoping that either Jeremiah Fears falls to them or they are looking to move within the top 3 to either pick Jeremiah Fears or Dylan Harper. They're looking to fill in that point guard position. They feel a lot better with Bub Carrington running the second group and coming off the bench, which I do like. I don't think that Bub Carrington is a starting point guard caliber type player. I definitely do think that he could be solid as a 6-man coming off. And with the fact that you had Chris Middleton re-signing or accepting his option with the Wizards today, I definitely think that they're going to look more towards the backcourt and somebody to pair with Jordan Poole. And you get somebody in Jeremiah Fears who maybe isn't your exact distributor, but is just a crafty, crafty guard, is a dog, attacks the rim at will, knows how to get to the basket. You could have him, running the pick and roll with Alex Sarr. Of course, there's some shooting concerns there, some consistency concerns. Maybe gets a little bit trigger happy with the turnovers at times. Defense, he is a little bit of a flawed prospect, but has a huge, huge ceiling to surpass. And if he can improve that shooting, man, he would be one dangerous guard. And this is the situation that Washington is seeming to lean to, and I think that they end up getting lucky and they get the guy that they want at number 6. Then number 7 and number 8, we normally put these together. I'm going to put them together today, but it's actually not 2 point guards. It is a point guard and a shooting guard. I'm still going to have Casper Jack Junis going number 7 to the New Orleans Pelicans. And then at number 8, I'm going to have Trey Johnson. I don't think that Johnson falls any lower than number 8. Definitely do think that the Pelicans could take a swing at him. But like I've said in the past with New Orleans, I just think that you need to go out and grab the most versatile prospect possible, because you just don't know what the status of your team is right now. You don't know what's going on with Zion. You could potentially be trading Herb Jones and Trey Murphy at the deadline. DeJounte Murray, what type of role is he going to be playing in coming off of injury? Is he going to want the ball in his hands? Is he going to want to play more off ball? Is he going to be as aggressive as he was before? So with Caspers, with his distributing abilities, with him still being a solid three-point shooter and whatnot, you could put him at the 2. You could have him run the offense at the 1. You could have him come off the bench if you want to. If you want to shift like Herb Jones or C.J. McCollum to the shooting guard position, he could kind of play anywhere, and I think that's really what you want. And then for Brooklyn, this is almost a dream scenario for them. I know that Fears was a big time prospect for them, but to get a scoring prospect like Trey Johnson, the man can score from all 3 levels of the court. A tremendous scorer. Sure, the athleticism and defense might not be on par of that of a VJ Edgecombe, but you're just going to get scoring. And combining him with D'Angelo Russell, combining him with Cam Thomas, you still have Nick Claxton to anchor majority of your defense, and you still have youth there with guys like Cam Johnson, Noah Clowney, right? You have those guys in place. Trey Johnson is a guy who could be your number 1 overall scorer and lead your team. He could likely have 15 plus, 18 plus, potentially even 20 plus point averages this year. That's just how great of a scorer Trey Johnson is, and I like that for them at number 8. Then we are going to put number 10 and number 9 and number 10 together, because it's going to be the 2 centers. Kaman Maluak and Derek Queen go back-to-back again. This is another switch. Originally had Queen, like in the past 2 or 3 drafts, going to the Chicago Bulls at number 12. This time he rises a little bit at number 10 with the Phoenix Suns now being introduced. As for the Raptors at number 9, we've gone over this. This has been a consistent pick, Maluak at 9. I think that they just have enough offense to be able to. I think that they have enough guys to be able to run their offense. You need a defensive anchor, especially when you're playing Scotty Barnes at the power forward position. Maluak is, without a doubt, the best rim protector within this draft. He plays well as a dunker spot off of the pick and roll, especially when you have guys like Quickly, guys like RJ Barrett, who like to, come off of those screens, come off of those pick and rolls, get downhill and be aggressive attacking the rim. Being able to lob it up to him would be huge. You still have Brandon Ingram mixing in there. I mean, you have a full front starting 5 there. And then with the Phoenix Suns at number 10, a little bit explanation, because, they obviously just traded Kevin Durant. They got Jalen Green. They got Dylan Brooks. So they're pretty much fine in the wing department. They have Devin Booker there, who I think as of right now is going to be playing much more of a point guard type role and a playmaking type role. I mean, they could absolutely still go out and get a point guard. There are solid point guards available still here right now, like Nolan Traore, Igor Demon, Jace Richardson, and they still do have the number 29 overall pick, where they could potentially get somebody like a Walter Clayton Jr. And whatnot down there. So there's definitely still is room to work with for them to go out and get a point guard. But I think that big is an absolute need. I think it's one of, if not the weakest part of their squad. And you get a guy in Derek Queen who just has so many offensive, creative creation on his side, can handle the ball well off the perimeter. If he can just improve that jumper, he's going to be disgusting, especially with Devin Booker coming out of the pick and roll. And then defensively, obviously he's not great. But I think that with the way that this team is going with Jalen Green, you're definitely just going to be going all in on the offensive end and trying to outscore everyone that you can. Portland Trailblazers at number 11. Again, this has been a pretty consistent pick for me as well. It is Colin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina, the best power forward within this draft. I think the man just plugs in right next to Donovan Clingan, gives you a good defensive front. They obviously just traded Anthony Simons yesterday to the Boston Celtics for Drew Holiday, so they're definitely trying to improve themselves defensively and just getting the ball into the hands of Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson offensively. So just get yourself as many bigs as you can to grab rebounds, to play once again within the pick and roll, and just make it so much more difficult for the team to score. And I think that's what Murray Boyles does really well. Works well off the block as a box power forward. I just think that he is the right fit there. Then you move to two pivot picks, in my opinion, because I think that 12 and 13 with Chicago and Atlanta could definitely go in any kind of direction. For Chicago, I'm going to go way different than I had before. Of course, I had Derek Queen falling them to number 12. There's been talks about Carter Bryant. Obviously, Austin Newell is there. I do definitely think that they need some front court help, but it's not going to be any of those guys. It's not going to be Noah Senge either. I'm going to go for a big-time reach, to be honest. I think that this is actually something possible that could happen, and that is Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. I know that it's a little bit of a reach, but I think that Chicago has gone for a prospect like this before. I mean, they surprised us a couple of years back taking Patrick Williams at number 4 overall. This way they get Fleming, who is, a solid 3-and-D stretch forward type power forward. Can really, really stretch forward, really great three-point shooter. Of course, there's doubts about the competition that he was playing down there in St. Joe's, but the dude, solid athleticism, shoots the three really well, rebounds really well. It allows you to move Patrick Williams to what I think is better for him, which is his more natural small forward position, rather than just playing him as a small ball forward, trying to run him up and down and outscore opponents on the break. You get an actual half-court set guy in Rasheer Fleming who can run it in the pick and pop with Josh Giddey and Kobe White. It gives you more scoring. And then, hopefully, you can go out and get a defensive anchor at your center position. Maybe you could trade Vooch for a lower-valued rim protector. And then you probably have enough offense between Fleming, White, and Giddey on the floor already. And then, obviously they need to build up that bench, which is a story for another episode. But I think that this is just a unexpected pick, which I think Chicago tends to go to. But it's a person who allows them to stretch the floor a lot more, improves their shooting, which I definitely think that they need, and gives them more presence within their front court, which is definitely a place where they need to really improve. Then you go to the Hawks at 13. Again, another pivot for me. I've had Austin Newell go into them for the past couple of drafts. But this guy has really been a big-time riser for me and a lot of other people within their NBA mock drafts, and that's Igor Demon. And 13 has been a pretty popular spot for him. I was hesitant at first just seeing how he would really fit in with Trey, because he is more of a playmaking guard and would have to have the ball in his hands to distribute the basketball. But I like that he's 6'9". I like the amount of length that he has. I like the perimeter defensive potential that he could have, especially next to Trae Young, who we know struggles a lot within that. And you also have to consider that front court isn't really a big need, because you have the number 22 overall pick, where there's going to be a lot of front court options there for you. I mean, Austin Newell could still fall to 22. Noah Senge, you have Thomas Schwarber, who's there. If you fall back, you have guys like Nick Clifford, Danny Wolf, Ryan Kalkbrenner could still be there. So they still have a lot more opportunity to go out and get that. Demon allows them to, patch up their backcourt a little bit. Is he going to be the best fit? I'm not sure, because I don't know how well Trey would be off the ball, or the bigger question would be, would he be willing to play off the ball? But if he is, you get good distribution with two great shooters with Young and Reese Shea. You'd get good length between him, Reese Shea, Jalen Johnson, and then hopefully you could bring back Clint Capella and then get a backup in your front court. So you're slowly building depth, you're slowly building length, and you're just allowing yourself to have more offensive playmakers, which I think, once again, is the type of play style that Atlanta needs to lean into. Then you go to the San Antonio Spurs at number 14. I think it's going to be Thomas Schwarber. I mean, I've had this pick for a while as well, for the past 2 or 3 mock drafts, I believe. I just think it's a good thing to get insurance for Wembanyama, especially that you don't know what his injury future is going to look like with the blood clots. That's kind of an unexpected injury to have to really go through. It's something that could reoccur. So just to get yourself, again, another defensive anchor down there that could sub in, playing with your point guards, it would definitely benefit them there. So that takes us out of the lottery and takes us to Oklahoma City Thunder at 15. And again, another big time pivot pick because the Oklahoma State Thunder, now reigning champions, they could kind of go in any direction. And I still don't understand why they have 2 first-round picks because they already have a 10, 11 man type roster. So I think that for both of these picks, they have 15 and they also have 24. I'm going to give them prospects that are a lot more raw and that are going to need a lot more years to be able to develop because they just have so much depth. And I think that they need to draft potential over right away talent because they're not going to be able to play all of these guys. So with 15th overall, I'm going to go with Cedric Coward out of Washington State, another big-time riser in this draft. Was looked at as a second-round pick a couple of weeks back, then transferred into a late first-rounder, and now is right outside the lottery. And in some mock drafts I've seen even into the lottery. Obviously was affected big time by an early season injury, but the dude can score, as you can see, 17.7 points per game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He was a big-time offensive playmaker over there at Washington State. You give him time to come back from his injury, to be able to work into his frame, which, as you can see, NBA ready frame at 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan. So you allow him to come back fully from injury. You get him to work into his frame. Then 2 to 3 years, if you lose an Aaron Wiggins, if you lose an Isaiah Joe, if you lose a Casey Wallace, this is a guy that could 100% plug in with you right away and just be a physical banger down low, grabbing rebounds and attacking the basket. Definitely think that this is not only great talent, but it's a guy that you can allow to take some time off, work on the bench, and just take years to develop, which I think would be solid. Number 16, with the Memphis Grizzlies, they need to go offense. They need to go shooting. I think that Jace Richardson is perfect for them, especially with them trading Desmond Bane. You need to get a partner next to Ja immediately, especially who can shoot the ball really well. And that is Jace Richardson's game. He also plays solid defense. You also don't have to play him with the 2. If you want to move him around and bring him off the bench, he would be a nice offensive spark to have off the bench. But a guy who works really hard, is really willing to rise up the ranks and put himself in the best position possible. And at 16, it just gives Memphis the shooting that they need, which they're definitely going to miss the offense after trading away Desmond Bane. Then you have the Minnesota Timberwolves at number 17. I went with Liam McNeely in the previous draft. I think I'm going to go in a different direction this time just because I feel like there's better value on the board, and that's Nick Clifford. I think that, again, Nick Clifford is a guy that could step in day one immediately for you. He could still play that shooting guard small forward position. He still is a really valuable shooter. He's probably more valuable than Liam McNeely because I think that he has less weaknesses. And 4-year senior is a guy that could plug in right away. And with Minnesota being a playoff contending team, that's what they need. They don't have time for these rookies to be able to develop. So get yourself a guy that, once again, in some mock drafts, some of my mock drafts, I had him going in the lottery. You get him at number 17. I think that's an absolute steal. I think that he will fall just because of his age. That seems to be a big, big red flag for a lot of NBA teams. I'm not sure why, but lower ceiling for him, but the floor is so high. He can plug in for you right away, be an offensive contributor, and that's definitely what they need. They need to take the ball out of Ant's hands, the pressure off of his shoulders, and Clifford can also serve in at that small forward, power forward position to fill in defensively if they're not able to keep Julius Randle or Gobert around, or however that roster ends up shifting. 18 and 19 for the Wizards and the Nets. 18, I'm going to have the Washington Wizards go for Austin Newell. And 19, I've had this pick in previous drafts. I'm going to have the Brooklyn Nets go for Danny Wolf. So 2 power forwards back-to-back. For the Wizards, this once again allows them to shift Alex Sarr back to the position that I think he is most valuable, which is the center spot. Allow him just to work around the rim. It is concerning that you're not going to have a lot of great floor spacing within your front court. You're going to have Newell and Sarr, but you still have Middleton. You still have Marcus Smart. You have Jordan Poole. And now you can work in Newell and Sarr with Jeremiah Fears, who they drafted earlier in the draft. And same thing for the Nets going forward. Wolf is going to be nice just because he's an offensive playmaker as well, so you just have so many offensive options. If they trade away Nick Claxton, he could plug in and be insurance there. He could play a power forward next to Claxton, which could be some great length. You could even have him handling the ball on the perimeter and going in a pick and roll with Nicholas Claxton. That's how great of a ball handler Danny Wolf is. He can shoot from the outside. Again, when you're in a position like Brooklyn is, where you don't have a lot going for you, the best thing to do is just to improve your offensive output and improve your versatility. That's what allows your young core to really grow. The defensive weaknesses and some of the inconsistencies and whatnot, you can work on that with reps and time. But if you have these high ceiling guys on the offensive end, that is what's going to make your team good. Good. That is what is going to make your team better sooner. Miami Heat at number 20. This is actually a big fall for this guy. A lot of people have this guy going within like the top 10 or 11. I'm not so big on him. That's Carter Bryant out of Arizona. I just haven't seen enough from him to really rank him as a top 15, 14, top 10 type guy. Sure, there's some 3-and-D potential there, but the statistics just don't show a lot. He showed some flashes within his game a little bit, but I mean, what can you really say? The only issue that I have with this pick for Miami is you kind of have three similar guys now in the form of Carter, Jaquez, and Jovic, kind of all these 3-and-D big time small forward / power forward type guys. So you're gonna have to work to move them around, or you're gonna have to trade one of those guys, which any one of them would have really really solid value. So I think that would work for you, but I don't think that Miami really wants to change the direction of their team. I think that they see the potential that they had in those playing games that they played. So just putting the ball into Davion Mitchell, Tyler Hero's hands, having Bam Adebayo down there at that center position, and just having shooters all around would make their offense really, really deadly. 21 for the Utah Jazz. I've had Nolan Traore going here. I'm going to keep with it. I just think that the value's there for Utah, having a guy who you saw on the football and sports network simulator was ranked the 13th prospect. You get him all the way down at 21. I think that that's solid. Again, I think he's just another distributor for you. You have Colin Sexton to score. You now have Ace Bailey in that lineup, Lauri Markkanen. So you need yourself a real guy that can go ahead. Sorry if I look behind me. It's raining. It just started raining right now. To work in with your front court bigs. So I think that would be good. And then you have the Atlanta Hawks. I think, again, you need to go front court. So I think Ryan Kalkbrenner here could definitely work in your favor. Whether you are able to keep Clint Capella in free agency or whether he let go, you have Kalkbrenner to be either insurance or to be a backup center in that spot. Again, just another good defensive anchor. And with the amount of ball handlers that you have in your hand now, running in the pick and roll with him should be good. And then covering up the tracks for some of the defensive deficiencies that Trae Young has. 23 and 24 for the Pelicans and the Oklahoma City Thunder. I actually don't remember I do remember. We're going to go with these two guys at the top of the order, Liam McNeely and Noah Senge, respectively. Again, McNeely's just so versatile, can work around everywhere, has good offensive potential, good shooting. So if you get rid of Murphy, if you get rid of Jones, he can plug in either that 2 or 3 and play right there. And again, Senge is just much more of a project. A lot of people are comparing him to John Salon from last year, which I definitely agree with. Just somebody that is much more of an athlete than he is a basketball player. So take your time. You have 4 to 5 years to really work at him, develop him, and just get his basketball IQ and his basketball skills up. So that could be definitely a guy in 4 or 5 years with his wingspan that he has, so that could come in and back up J-Dub, which I believe was the only real weakness that they have. They didn't really have a big-time backup power forward to really go in and back up J-Dub. Senge could definitely do that in a couple of years. 25, 26, 27. We're going to go all 3 in a row here. Cam Jones going to the Magic, and then 26 and 27 back-to-back for the Brooklyn Nets. We're going to have Will Riley, and then we're also going to have Drake Powell going there for the Nets. So the Nets in this draft, just looking at them, they get Trey Johnson, Will Riley, Drake Powell, and they get Danny Wolf, all 4 of those guys. Riley and Powell were 2 of the better 3-and-D wings coming into this draft, especially later for their value. That's really what they do. They're going to stay out of the way. They're going to shoot 3-pointers, and then they're going to go out and guard the best guy on the opposite end of the floor, which could be really helpful for them. Cam Jones going to Orlando Magic at 25. I just simply think that they need to have a pure point guard. You have Desmond Bain there. You have him at the shooting guard position, but Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, those are not guys that are going to be able to handle and distribute the basketball. Just get yourself a playmaker, a distributor. Jones is that. He's a seasoned guy. Once again, you are a playoff. You should be a team that, if you can avoid injuries, should be a playoff contending team. Jones can plug in day one and potentially start for you. He is very, very aggressive. He plays really solid defense. He's six at about 6'5", so you still have really great length. Him and Bain together would be awesome. He'd be able to work within the pick and roll with Paolo, swinging it out to Bain, swinging it out to Franz Wagner, attacking the rim. I mean, just get yourself a seasoned point guard, and that is what Cam Jones is. And then 28, 29, 30 to wrap up the final mock draft of the year. 28 for the Boston Celtics, especially with them improving their front court with Anthony Simons. Definitely do think that they need to look towards the front court. I've had Janai Broom in past drafts, but there seems to be a little bit of a downplay on him. He seems to be falling a little bit. So I like somebody like Rocco Zikarsky, kind of, again, a project. Sits at 7'3", 7'5" wingspan, is a solid athlete. The dude can run the floor. He's actually a really solid rim runner and can also protect the basket. You wonder how that type of size can really translate to the NBA from Europe. So that's really the question as far as him. But with the Celtics team that just has so much talent around him, they have experience with the European bigs in the form of Kristaps Porzingis. So they definitely know how to work around that and potentially could work him in. And again, he doesn't have to start day one. He could definitely play backup to Porzingis and Luke Cornett. And again, with Jason Tatum coming off of injury, you're definitely going to need to protect him defensively. Zikarsky could definitely go in, and even just standing there, he makes attacking the paint a lot more difficult. And then 29 and 30 to wrap it up. I'm going to have the Phoenix Suns at 29 taking Walter Clayton Jr. Again, I think that they're another team that just needs to target a point guard, and then potentially work in Jalen Green and Devin Booker, or at least, you could have Booker as your starting point guard and then have Walter Clayton coming off the bench as a big-time spark. He was without a doubt one of the best college point guards this season. Made so many big-time plays for that Florida Gators team that ended up winning the national championship. And, he's a little bit quirky. He's a little bit quirky of a player. He plays at a weirder play style and a weirder pace than most. But, you're just looking for youth. You're looking for potential. That's what Walter Clayton really brings to the table. And then number 30 for the LA Clippers. Point guard definitely was a potential need, but I just think that they need to go out and get three-point shooting. Like, they need scoring. They need scoring as much as they can, especially with Harden and Kawhi not getting any older, or not getting any younger, apologies. So I think it's going to be Chaz Lanier out of Tennessee at number 30, the shooting guard, three-point shooter, to go ahead and end it out. So that is the final mock draft of the year, guys. Flagg, Harper, Edgecombe, Knoepel, Bailey, Fears, Jack Junis, Johnson, Maliwak, Queen, Murray Boyles, Fleming, Demon, Sorber, Coward, Richardson, Clifford, Newell, Wolf, Bryant, Traore, Kalkbrenner, McNeely, Esenge, Jones, Riley, Powell, Zikarsky, Clayton Jr., and Lanier. 1 through 30 all throughout. Let me know down below what you guys think about this. What am I going to get right? What am I going to get wrong? It's going to be a really fun and interesting night. So many different things can happen. And so just make sure that you guys are tuned in, not only to the NBA draft, but to the live stream once again that we're doing tomorrow. Tune in at 5 p.m. Going to be breaking this whole thing down. And then, of course, there's going to be so many episodes covering this following that. So go down below. Make sure that you're subscribed, post notifications on, commenting, sharing with your friends, liking the video, and as always, following all those social medias so that you never miss whenever the podcast uploads. You never miss when the live is going live, and you never miss any of my reactions to breaking news, because it's always happening in the sports world, and it's just a ton of fun. So without further ado, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your week. I'm excited to see all of you tomorrow, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy. Peace.